I think the pandemic really opened our eyes to the fact that we are all citizens of one planet and that we don't know where the next emerging threat is going to come from. So we really need for scientists to create groundbreaking partnerships. And at UCSF, there couldn't be a better example of that than what happened during the pandemic between our Quantitative Biology Institute, QBI, and the Pasteur-Institut.
Institut Pasteur is one of the leading biomedical research institutions in Europe. It was funded 135 years ago to actually develop research on infectious disease.
Institut Pasteur is very well known for its deep study of different infectious agents. And at QBI, what we're known for is the development of different quantitative technologies. And this was a relationship that started back in 2018. And when the pandemic hit, we were in a perfect position to work together because the trust had already been established.
COVID was just a proof of concept that despite the geographical distance, science is global. And in a record time, there were all these maps that were done trying to understand how COVID was working in the human cells and the proteins that we could try to modulate being investigated. And all of that happened thanks to this interaction that already exists between the Quantitative Biology Institute and Pasteur.
And because of our relationship, now we're working together to build up the first Institut Pasteur in the United States.
Institut Pasteur is a network of 33 institutes in 25 countries, but this is the first place where Institut Pasteur will be placed in America.
In order to advance health worldwide, we need to have a worldwide presence. And putting these two institutions together, I really believe will be special for the world.
You have an institution like Pasteur, very old institution with an exquisite knowledge of every pathogen in the world, and then you have UCSF that comes with this enormous potential of innovation and technology and new ways of studying very old questions.
At QBI, we're really at the epicenter of the AI revolution. So we're involved in generating unbiased quantitative data on how different pathogens infect our cells. We can use AI to help us interpret this data, to help make predictions about the treatments we should be developing and how these different pathogens are evolving.
If we really bring AI hand in hand with the biology, can we predict better? Can we develop treatment faster? That is the entire value of this center that we are creating here.
There are clearly several forces that are making it more likely that we will face another pandemic in our lifetime.
One of the main drivers is global warming and climate change, but also deforestation, civic unrest that produce big movements of population from one side to another.
And more frequent exposure between people and vectors of these infectious diseases means that we really need this kind of a partnership.
The goal of this partnership is to become the leaders on emerging infectious disease. When something will happen, people will think at the Pasteur-UCSF Center as the place where we will look for solutions for the next pandemic.
Studying infectious disease is going to inform other disease areas as well. What we're trying to do is redefine disease and to say that disease is all connected, so that if you say we could vaccinate against virus X when you're 5 years old and you don't get this virus in your teens, you may not have Parkinson's when you're older. You may not have Alzheimer's. So studying these pathogens has a much, much broader impact.
We now have data science techniques and the compute power to understand pathogens as complex and as messy and as nonlinear as it is. And these new tools of AI puts that complexity in reach for the very first time. And we are going to look back several decades from now and say that we were on the verge of a golden decade in science.